Drivers, start your engines!
It's MRN Motorsports Monday, the place for the latest news and loudest opinions, direct from the guys at the track. Presented by Outback Steakhouse. The stories, views, and opinions expressed on MRN Motorsports Monday are not likely shared by anyone, anywhere. Results may vary, so you should talk to your doctor before watching.
What's up, Doc?
Today's episode is brought to you by Hercules Tire.
Pace car is on.
Here's Woody Kane
Oh, boy, am I glad to see you guys!
I knew you'd come back, Woody.
and Joey Meyer.
Just a reminder, if you're asking me a question on the radio, just keep talking till I answer it for you, all right?
MRN Motorsports Monday presented by Outback Steakhouse with you after, I don't know what we saw at Talladega Superspeedway, both in the truck race and the cup race, but Parker Kligerman somehow goes to victory lane despite all the wildness in the truck race on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we had maybe a half a dozen cars wind up in raceable condition, or at least competitive raceable condition at the end of that race. And your guy wins, Brad Keselowski, and it's good to hear your voice again because for a long stretch yesterday you were incommunicado.
You know, the race was 188 laps, and to listen to people after the race, you would have thought that for 185 of those laps we couldn't talk. It ended up being about 25, almost 30 laps that we had a radio communication. Debris had actually wiped out the antenna on top. He could hear me down the front stretch completely, but back stretch was a little sketchy, just not enough to be competitive.
But you guys didn't know what he could and couldn't hear.
That's
at the
exactly
time,
right. Exactly right. So we ended up having to make a pit stop, I believe, without Route 50 to go. And the guys were able to get back in the race car, put an entire new antenna housing on the car, and we were back to normal. And the end of the race, as we know, was history. Got a little.
Look at there, a trophy.
Yeah,
you bring a trophy. That's fantastic.
Really cool honor to win that race again. Dale's last race, we had a kind of a commemorative paint scheme that Brad actually worked with Miller Lite and was able to have a throwback paint scheme back when he drove the Navy car for Junior Motorsports when Dale was able to bring him on board, and they were successful over there. So it was really cool, just an interesting race all around. And there at the end, Brad did a really good job in the pack with Ryan Newman and Denny Hamlin, Dale Jr., and then Joey Logano. They had that car fixed up, and he was coming from the back pretty fast. So at the end of 189 laps, 188 laps, here we are in victory lane.
Absolutely. And here's what Brad Keselowski had to say afterward in victory lane.
Another win and another one at Talladega.
I know it's still sinking in, Alex. It's a special place to get to race. It's a special place when you win here. It's really a collaborative effort with the team and getting a real fast car and then making the right moves as a driver, and a lot of help from up above with staying out of those wrecks. So it really takes all three, and we had them today.
How crazy was it out there from the driver's seat? Because it seemed like there was a big wreck, and you happened to be right in the middle of everything.
I mean, I feel like only 8 cars finished the race. Just one of them, crazy days. I think we've seen that at the plate tracks this year. It's been a lot of attrition.
What was the deciding factor, in your opinion, there on the last lap?
Probably the bump I got from behind from Joey Logano, my teammate. That was really big, and I'm very thankful for that.
So there you go. And as he said, about 8 cars wound up finishing the race. But, boy, we sure tore up a lot of race cars yesterday. A lot of playoff guys wound up getting wrecked out. I think it was somewhere around a dozen of the playoff guys, or only 4 that didn't have a wreck. And one of those was damaged and running on the track at the time. So a pretty good shakeup in the standings there as we look at it now, with Martin Truex Jr. still on top despite the wreck. Brad Keselowski punches his ticket, jumps to second. Kyle Larson moves to third, and he's going to join us on the guest line a little bit later on in the program. But a jumble there. Some of the guys who had incidents early and looked like they were going to be in trouble, now it doesn't look quite as bad.
Ironically enough, both races on Saturday and Sunday saw the competitors in the playoffs have issues. Chase Briscoe early on has an issue, and that really put John Hunter Nemechek in a good place. He was still driving aggressively, and he got in trouble.
Yeah.
That helped Austin Cindric, who we stayed in the back and were very cautious. We saw the exact same thing happen on Sunday. Only 2 of the playoff contenders finished in the top 12 due to wrecks. And those guys were falling out, and all of a sudden we go into the race in 10th, a couple of points out of the playoffs, and now we're second, 20 points plus in. So it was a very topsy-turvy day for Saturday and Sunday for both competitors all around.
A lot of good action to talk about and break down for you all day long. Kyle Larson will be here. We'll do on-track, off-track, and a lot more coming up on MRN Motorsports Monday. Stay with us.
It's almost the most refreshing time of the day, Busch O'Clock, a time for relaxing and unwinding with friends and family over a crisp, cold Busch beer. Bush's roots are in racing, but whether you're enjoying the race or going fishing, nothing is better when it's time to relax than a crisp, cold Busch. It's Busch o'clock, so grab a six-pack of Busch beer for the cooler, start the grill, and relax. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch, Busch Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse, blooming great.
Newman by a car length. Keselowski, Logano, the top three. Keselowski's going for the lead.
He'll go to the top side. He pulls alongside Ryan Newman. Keselowski's got a hood out in front, but here comes Ryan Newman down on the bottom side, and they are dead even, headed to the tri-oval.
Here comes Joey Logano trying to make it 3 wide. They're bouncing off of one another, but it's going to be Brad Keselowski out front, and for the 5th time in his career, Brad Keselowski has won at the Talladega Superspeedway.
That's the way it sounded yesterday at Talladega Superspeedway. Mike Bagley, Dan Hubbard, and Jeff Striegel on the call for the Motor Racing Network. Well, you guys have been there in a must-win and produced. You've been there when you really needed a win and led a bunch and then didn't get the finish because you blew up, along with Martin Truex Jr., who was in the same boat. And now it's not necessarily a must-win, but good to go ahead and punch your ticket.
We had a bad week at Charlotte, an unexpectedly poor performance from our guys. They all rallied. We talked about Talladega all week long, and we went in there. There are basically, I say, 3 kinds of drivers that show up. The guys that really don't like a restrictor plate race, and they want to ride around and just escape it. Mm-hmm. The guys that just kind of don't really care. They're just going to go through the motions, and if they wreck, they wreck. If they don't, they don't. And then the guys that really like to be there. It's a thinking man's game. The Dale Juniors of the world, the big Dale Earnharts of the world.
Who missed 3 wrecks unbelievably somehow.
Yep. And Brad Keselowski. He enjoys going there. It was his very first win back in 2009 when he drove the 09 car. It was his very first win. He's been to victory lane 5 times. Just like he mentioned, there is a certain amount of luck. You pray to the guy above and go, thank you very much. But you don't find victory lane 5 times when other guys can't find victory lane. So it is a combination of all the two. Great cars, a little bit of luck, and quite a bit of skill behind the steering wheel.
Yeah, and it's very frustrating, I know, for a lot of the drivers to feel like there's nothing they can do in certain circumstances.
Absolutely.
And, you know, some of those wrecks, you see the replays on them, and it's almost like a car materializes in front of you. It's not, okay, I see it, I can miss it. It's just like, boom, it's there, and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, and we see that at Talladega and Daytona because of the tight packs, which NASCAR is mandated with restrictor plates that cover the engine to restrict it from air. But we've also seen these kind of wrecks at smaller tracks like Martinsville. We might not see the 12, 15 car pileups, but we'll have 4 or 5 cars get tore up with one guy spinning off the corner. Martinsville and Bristol come to mind. Phoenix, notoriously, we have those big wrecks where they red flag the race when we exit off of turn 4, which will be the new turn 2.
Yeah, that's gonna be odd, but we're not there yet. Yeah.
No, so we have those big wrecks at other facilities. Dover, notorious off of turn 2. Mm-hmm. So we see multiple car wrecks, just not quite to the extent that we see them at Talladega.
Don't forget now, head over to Outback Steakhouse. It's no Bloomin' Monday because Kevin Harvick didn't get a top 10 finish. He was one of the guys that got swept up in not 1 but 2 wrecks at Talladega on Sunday. But they do got great lunch specials, all kinds of good stuff going on. Tell them you heard about it on MRN Motorsports Monday anyway. You just can't get the free Bloomin' Onion this week because Kevin Harvick was one of the many guys who got swept up in an incident there. Ryan Newman led at the end and almost pulled out the victory. It came up just short. Let's hear what he had to say following the race.
Ryan, last few laps of that race, describe what it was like from your perspective behind the wheel.
Well, we held him off longer than I expected. I couldn't tell how much nose damage I had, but and I hadn't led all day, so I didn't know what to expect. But I saw the 2 car in the mirror backing up, and then he lost his draft, and then he backed up again, and he caught the 22. And that was all it took for him to get a good run. I would have maybe played it different and backed it up in hindsight, but backed up to them in hindsight. But I don't think it would have made a difference. They were double teaming me, and it was still a good race to finish second today with the Caterpillar Chevrolet.
There you go, Ryan Newman, darn near pulling off the victory there as one of the guys who survived and had a car in good shape at the end, and that was a key. If you had made it through all the stuff and had a car that was in pretty good shape, you were a contender.
You looked at the teammates. We didn't think we had a teammate with Joey. Denny Hamlin was by himself. Dale Jr. is by himself. The 31's by himself. But he had tried to get a little help from his affiliate in the 13 car with Dylan. But realistically, Joey was trying to win that race as much as he was. He ended up helping Brad by Brad getting up in front of him on the exit of 4. But it really wasn't the intent at that portion of the race. It's every person for himself.
All right, let's do a little on-track, off-track now. Some things that are going well in the sport and some things that maybe didn't go quite so well on the weekend that was at Talladega Superspeedway. What do you got for on-track? What impressed you over the weekend? Well, a trophy. There you go. Okay.
So
well
I'm gonna be a little selfish. We have 5 races left in the season. It's a very long season. With this playoff scenario, you have 3 rounds before you can get to Homestead and race for the championship. We are 4 races away from a championship contention. That's still a long way to go. A lot can happen in that last 3. But the first 2 are gone. Even though we have 1 more race in that second round, that win at Talladega guarantees that we get to go to Martinsville, Texas, and Phoenix and put with a chance to race for Homestead. And that's all we can ask. So right now, for me, I'm at a high. I have goosebumps. We talk about it. This is what we live for. We race for trophies and the opportunity to race for a championship, so it doesn't get much better.
And absolutely, there's the evidence for sure. On track for me was the crowd at Talladega Superspeedway. They had a really good crowd, and they were vocal. When Dale Jr. won the pole on Saturday, you could hear the roar in Atlanta. The crowd was jacked up all afternoon on Sunday. Every time Dale Jr. did anything, they were up and cheering and waving their arms and having a great time, and it was just fantastic to see such a good crowd come out at Talladega.
Yeah, 100%. You knew where he was around the track. He stormed to the front the one time from the back. I think he got all the way back to second, and the crowd was on his feet. It's really mesmerizing to see one guy have that much emotional control over 120,000 people.
Yeah.
We're going to miss him next year. He's going to be in the booth, and I'm sure everybody's going to have their backs turned looking at the booth instead of watching the race. But he's still going to be around. He's still going to be participating as an owner in the Xfinity Series. But kudos to Dale Jr. for a really competitive race yesterday.
All right. What about off track? What didn't go quite so well in your mind?
It worked out really well. We won the race. We had 8 cars there at the end battling for position. Brad did a heck of a job running, but we only had 8 cars.
Yeah.
All right. I hate that. I don't like the fact that we had a wreck early on as guys coming to pit road. And McMurray clearly took blame for it because he's like, I thought all these guys were talking. And they were. That's the funny thing. Tony Hirschman was talking to Kyle Busch, who said he's guys pitting. It's just a matter of when you're running so close together, which is what
at such high
speeds, you simply can't maneuver as quickly as you'd like to. I don't like to see all those cars wrecked. I don't like to see. Now the safety equipment worked. Nobody got injured that we're aware of. We haven't heard anything. Nothing flew into the stands. None of the fans got hurt. That's a great
kudos. I did see in one of those wrecks a wheel came off, though.
Yeah, it broke. You're exactly right. It was a lot of damage. But I just don't like to see that many wrecks. I know the fans, it'll be interesting to see, and I've heard some comments already. It was an exciting race and the fans enjoyed themselves. I just simply don't like to see that many wrecks. And it really wasn't because it was carelessness. There were simply guys just being aggressive, which we saw on Saturday. Heck, the guy that won the race had the more complaints on him during the race for being too aggressive than anybody. And he ended up winning the race. So it shows you that you have to be aggressive in order to try to win at one of these restrictor plate races. But I'm not really happy with the amount of cars we tore up.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. For me, a couple of things that jumped out. One was, you mentioned the truck race, and there was a point, and I know this came up in the drivers' meeting on Sunday. It appeared that Parker Kligerman had gone below the yellow line at one point to advance his position and didn't get called for it. There was another situation in the Cup race where Jimmy Johnson came on pit road with a battered car and was not supposed to be able to work on it under a red flag condition.
Correct.
The car was beat up anyway and probably not going to be able to continue, but they parked him for I don't know what action they took on the car, but whatever they did. It seemed like there were some quirky calls there.
You can't have every single event have a specific rule for that event. Jimmy Johnson, clearly his crew touched the car. And that's really what it boils down to. They can't touch the car. He's not even allowed to move under a red flag, right? You stop on the track. And so the Jimmy Johnson deal was a clear violation of rules. The Parker Klingerman rule is a judgment call. Why did Klingerman go below that yellow line? Was he forced down there? Did he advance his position? He did advance his position, but NASCAR felt in the best interest that he was forced down there and called it as a judgment call, which the balls and strikes, and that's what we asked NASCAR to do.
And it happens in all sports. It certainly does. All right, another time out on MRN Motorsports Monday. On the other side of the break, Kyle Larson joins us.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice. And I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse. That's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse. Blooming great.
Hey, Danica Patrick here. When I have friends and guests at the track who want to hear me drop pearls of wisdom during the race, I send them to Racing Electronics.
You all right back there?
I think so. I didn't, other than hitting a car, I didn't hit anything, but there's a tire down or something.
If you aren't listening to all the action live, you're missing out. Don't forget to rent a scanner or fan vision for the races. Go to racingelectronics.com to pre-rent for great discounts on your scanner and fan vision rentals.
You're smart, got your own trucking business, making it happen. What if I told you there was a place online where you could connect with other smart owner-operators just like you? It's an online community called Team Run Smart, where people share advice on truck maintenance, fuel savings, healthy habits on the road, and so much more, all to make your business more profitable. And it's all free. Visit teamrunsmart.com today to check it out. You'll be glad you did. teamrunsmart.com, brought to you by Freightliner Trucks.
I'm Brad Keselowski, and you're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday with Joey Meyer and Woody Kane. Joey Meyer, the only person I know that talks more than Woody Kane.
Wow, that guy never misses an opportunity to just give us a little jab.
My back's hurting from all the knives. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, joining us on the guest line now, the driver of the First Data Chevrolet. He comes home with a 13th place finish at Talladega, and Kyle Larson third in the standings right now because two guys have already punched their ticket into the next round. Kyle, I don't really even know how to begin. It just seems like if you were in a position where you had something left of your car at the end, you were going to have a pretty decent day. How crazy was it from your seat?
Yeah, it was pretty wild, especially that, second or the third stage, I guess. Luckily for us, we actually were just in front of it, seemed like all the wrecks until the one that I got into. But yeah, for some reason it got very, very wild and lots of crashes, and felt like we put ourselves in a good position to, have an opportunity to win. But just got collected in that last wreck with Chase and Suarez, and kind of ended our day. But kind of also crazy that we had a destroyed race car and still finished 13th with it. But that just shows how much of a mess of a race it was.
Yeah, I just wanted to say personally, I wanted to thank you because I went back and watched the replays. I'm sure you did. And if you don't do what you do, the 19 wipes us out. So I appreciate you just clearing him out of the way and letting us get out. I'm sure that was you.
That wasn't what he was thinking.
I'm sure that was what you and Derek had planned all along. Hey, when you we talked earlier in the show here about two types of drivers when we show up at the restrictor plate races. Those that don't like it and those that do. Where do you stand with Talladega on the schedule?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm not a huge fan of it just because I didn't grow up doing that style of racing,
but who did?
It's just yeah, I guess that's true, But I don't know. It's just a lot of it, talented drivers win it every time, but a lot of it comes down to luck as well to win. But I don't know. It's just kind of there's times I'm out there where we're like 4 wide going 200 miles an hour, and I look up and be like, gosh, we're crazy. Like this is stupid. But I guess I've grown to like it a little bit more. When I was a rookie or even my second year, it seemed like it was hard for people to trust me, and it was hard to race up front. But it seems like now that I've got this is my 4th year in the Cup Series. People trust me a little bit better, and can run behind me, and having people behind you is just as important as following good cars at the front. So I feel like I've been able to race up front more often now, and actually gotten close to winning a couple of them. Just don't have the luck I need there at the end of the races.
I want to follow up at Talladega. We see ebb and flows at those racetracks. We'll go for a couple of years and we have 40 cars finish on the lead lap, and then we have a race like yesterday. As a driver, when do you sense we're going to have a race like we did yesterday, or can you sense it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it seems like everybody's gotten way more aggressive at those races, and I think that the tracks are also losing a little bit of grip. So I think the cars are harder to drive a little bit, and then I think with maybe the field, the average age being a little younger, and we're all a little crazy out there. I think that's
crazy young kids.
Yeah,
get off my grass, you crazy young kids.
But it's wild.
Kyle, you're 3rd in the standings right now, 29 points clear of the cutoff line. After you've done it for a season now with the stage points and seen it play through this point of the playoffs, how do you think that whole thing is working out? Is it about like you expected, or crazier than you expected? How is this stage racing thing working out in the regular season and the playoffs?
I think stage racing's been really good. It was, stages and stage points were important in the regular year, but I think they're even more important now that you've only, because you got 3 races in each round. So if you can gain, 20 points a race, that's a lot. So I think it's made the racing more exciting, and I've enjoyed it. I don't know what the fans have thought about it, but I know myself and probably most of the drivers out there think it's been a good change. So, and us going into Talladega, I thought we had a pretty decent point cushion, and but we didn't gain any stage points. And then there for one little bit during the race, I'm like, gosh, I might be towards the cut line at the end of this thing. But all the playoff drivers ended up crashing, and it worked out for us, and I think we maintained our points position.
All right, well, one of the things we get to talk about on the show is your family. You got your very young son, Owen, that travels to you with all the races. Is this something that he's shown an interest in? Will you push him in that direction, or is it something he's going to be a ball and stick kind of guy?
Well, he's definitely a huge race fan, and loves going to the racetrack and in the garage area, going to the sprint car races and being in the pit area and scraping mud and stuff like that. I'm not going to I say I'm not going to push him into it, but you never know. But I feel like it's going to be hard for him, at least not to give go-kart racing a try, because obviously I'm in racing. Caitlin, her side of the family, with her brother Brad, racing for Casey Kane in the sprint cars. He's heavily involved in racing, so Owen's surrounded by it on both sides. So he's gonna definitely probably give it a try, but I'm going to support him in whatever he wants to do, whether it's sticking balls or whatever. He's going to have the chance to do whatever he wants.
Kyle, what's something that Owen does that cracks you up every single time?
Cracks me up every single time. I don't know. I think just watching him and play with Cash is funny, but then also, his speech is getting a lot better. So, the things that he says, random things that he says is funny, because he's learning, like he's just picking it up off of Caitlin and I or other adults, things that we say, and then he'll say it at a random time. It's hilarious. So he's a blast.
He really is. Well, look, we're headed to Kansas next. You finished 6th there back in May. What can we expect heading to Kansas? That surface is really starting to come into its own a little bit now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Kansas has been, great. Most repays you go to, it's single file around the bottom for years. But Kansas, I think, because they had the progressive banking, we were able to run kind of everywhere, and it's got a lot of grip everywhere. So I enjoy Kansas and look forward to going there every time. The area right around the racetrack is is awesome, you know, with all the shopping right there and, you know, different stores you can walk through. Great barbecue. Like, Kansas is one of my favorite tracks, the casino. So definitely looking forward to that this weekend. And Friday night, the World of Outlaws are racing at Lakeside. So going to go watch my race team race there. So it's definitely a fun weekend.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I was going to say, you're not going to run, are you? I think you've used up all your races, haven't you, on dirt?
Well, I mean, I still have races left over, but they'll all be after our Cup season's done. So as far as during the rest of the NASCAR season, I'm done racing. But as soon as I'm done with Homestead, I'm going to fly to Southern California and go race a midget. You know, unless I've won the championship or something, and I can't make it there. But
yeah,
I plan on going to race the USAC race at Ventura that day.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Kyle, I know we're running a little bit over here, but I just wanted to ask you one more thing. I saw you tweeting about the horrific fires in Northern California. Have you had a lot of contact with friends and family out there?
My family, we live in the valley, so we're pretty much away from all the fires, a good ways away from the fires. But, you know, Rico and I've got some other friends in the Napa Valley that, you know, I think Rico's been kind of preparing all their land for, you know, if the fires get close. But, you know, thankfully I don't think they've been affected by them yet. But it's California, and especially Northern California, is such a beautiful place. It's and the Napa Valley especially too is so beautiful. It's a shame to see, you know, the fires kind of wiping a lot of that stuff out and doing all the damage that it has. So terrible to see, but you know, they'll all recover from it, I'm sure.
Absolutely. All right, Kyle, we appreciate your time, and congratulations on the strong season you're having, and we look forward to catching up with you at Kansas.
Awesome. Thank you, and congrats, Joey.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, Kyle. Appreciate it.
How about that? And, boy, he really is having a strong season, and he's right where he needs to be heading into this elimination race.
Early in his season, he says he's only had 3 full-time years in the Cup Series, but if he gets to Homestead, he
loves that track.
He's the guy you'll have to watch because he'll be against the wall, absolutely pedal to the floor, flying around the Highland Homestead, and one of the top, only 4 guys can compete, but he'll be the top guy that you're worried about beating at Homestead.
You heard him talking there about how much he likes progressive banking, and that's what they've got at Homestead. He'll certainly be good there. All right, one more break here on MRN Motorsports Monday. We're going to try and get an Ask Joey segment in after this.
It's almost Busch o'clock. A time for relaxing and unwinding with a crisp, cold Busch beer. It's the most refreshing time of the day. Wait for it. 3, 2, 1. Busch. Crisp, cold Busch. Enjoy responsibly. Busch Beer. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse, blooming great.
Numbers. In NASCAR, numbers represent speed, passion, guts, and glory. Because numbers represent drivers. Numbers like 14, 88, 42, and 78. Numbers that say, that's my driver. Don't mess with my driver. See your number live at Kansas Speedway's first ever playoff elimination race. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Hollywood Casino 400. Sunday, October 22nd. Tickets at KansasSpeedway.com.
Parker Kligerman trying to run away and hide through the tri-oval, but now Glenn Enfinger gets some help. Kligerman will lead the white flag lap. The field headed back to turn 1.
Parker Kligerman by half a truck length. Enfinger falls back. Stewart freezes in the wall. Multi-truck crash. Into the wall goes Johnny Sauter. Into the wall goes Stewart freezes. Here come the leaders racing off turn number 2.
Field comes through the tri-oval. Caution flag, checkered flag waving. Parker Kligerman wins the Fred's 250 at Talladega Superspeedway.
Dan Hubbard, Dave Moody, and Mike Bagley with the call on Saturday at Talladega Superspeedway in the Fred's 250. And Parker Kligerman goes to victory lane. No offense to Parker, but I don't think anybody had him in the pool.
No, very aggressive all day long. It was a cutoff race for the Camping World Truck Series. We saw Kaz Grala get involved in a wreck early on, and then Chase Briscoe have a mechanical issue. Had a fantastic season over there. We really had high expectations in the 29. Kaz Grala won the season opener, had high expectations for him. Both of those guys miss out on being able to go to the next round.
Yeah, they sure do. And it was close for that last spot, within 2 points for almost the whole afternoon. All right, afterwards, here's what Parker had to say after his win.
I felt like we were one of the fastest trucks. It was very hard to find a partner once we lost Truex there at the beginning of the race that could really get pushed the way I wanted to push. And so, we found them and it worked. And then eventually, towards the end there, it was just like every move worked. Sometimes they do. And I'm not going to say I did anything special. I think it's just one of those things where you come down the end of the races, you're completely on instinct, and each move was a 1,000% chance of probably not working, and it worked. And so that's, it's what it takes to win these races. And that was a hell of a show. And, I just enjoyed being out there. But when I saw the caution come out and I knew there was a white flag, I was like, you got to be kidding me. We just won.
There you go. Parker Kligerman goes to victory lane, and as you mentioned, a couple of guys knocked out in the Camping World Truck Series playoffs. They will not be in action this weekend at Kansas. The Cup and Xfinity guys will be in action there, and we'll look forward to that. But first, let's do this. We've had another Ask Joey segment. We've got a question from Mike, who wants to know, after all the success you've had as a spotter, is there one race that stands out to you more than the others, and is there one you wish you could go back and do over?
I was very fortunate that I got transitioned into being a spotter as a secondary spotter, and one of the great races we've seen is Dale Jr.'s first time back at Daytona after the passing in 2001 of his dad. I was a participant of that race as a second spotter, which is really cool, but then I transitioned into full-time spotter. My first win, my first race, was a Daytona 500 with Michael Waltrip. Wow. So that was a pretty special spot. Now, any race I could do over again, I can tell you all the wrecks I've been in with these guys. Robert Richardson at Talladega, clearing him when he wasn't clear. Martin Truex Jr. dominating Texas. We slam into the back of Denny Hamlin, who ran out of gas. We had that race won. We were clear. Those guys had stayed out on low gas. We were going to come drive right around them. But those memories of the wrecks almost outweigh the memories of doing really well. So it's interesting how a spotter brain works.
Yeah, and it's that way in a lot of things. A lot of people remember the ones that didn't happen as much as the ones that did. All right, quickly, let's look ahead to Kansas. What can we expect there?
Again, we saw Kyle Larson. We heard it. It's not a normal 1.5 miles. It's a transition, progressive bankingly track. It's starting to get some roughness into it.
Oh, wait, some what? Roughlessness?
You heard me.
Roughlessness. I love that.
Okay. And we don't have to worry about running good there. So that's a relief off our back, as well as Martin Truex Jr. I imagine those guys will still run good. The Toyotas are going to be fast. We're looking to gain a little bit of speed, though.
All right. As we said, don't forget, MRN Motorsports Monday, right back with you next week on Tuesday night, NASCAR Live, 7 to 8 Eastern Time. Saturday, we've got the Kansas Lottery 300 in the Xfinity Series, 2:30 Eastern Time. Sunday, the Cup race comes your way, the Hollywood Casino 400. That one starts at 2 Eastern Time. Make sure you check all that out at MRN.com. We got those Junior's Journey podcasts going on as well. Check it all out, and we will be right back here 1 week from now. There is the trophy. See you next week on Motorsports Monday.
MRN Motorsports Monday is presented by Outback Steakhouse. Tune in every Monday for another exciting episode right here on MRN.com. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. MRN Motorsports Monday is also available on demand in MRN.com's Media Center, on our Facebook page, on YouTube, and in iTunes or the Google Play Store. MRN Motorsports Monday is a production of the Motor Racing Network.